Senator, I know you have to walk into a meeting in just a matter of moments. Very quickly, criminal justice reform, how are we doing on that?
Well, to be honest with you, I have a real difficult time with what they're doing in the Senate because they will not include within that bill a mens rea requirement. Now, to be honest with you, if you don't include mens rea, which says they would have to prove criminal intent, then they can indict anybody and convict anybody. And mens rea is an absolutely important thing in criminal law. And I'll tell you why the Democrats don't want to do that. They don't want to put a mens rea provision in, because they want to be able to indict these business people who, without any real evidence, can just, even though they had no intention to do wrong whatsoever, but they had a downturn or they had something turn out not so well, and they want to be able to indict them. And, we're working on criminal justice reform. It addresses a few important issues, but it fails to address what I consider to be one of the greatest and most basic problems in our criminal justice system, and that's overcriminalization. That's why mens rea is so important. And mens rea says, before you can indict somebody and convict them, you got to show that they had criminal intent. And it seems to me that's a no-brainer. And I have real trouble with this particular bill. We have over 300,000 laws in this country in an 80,000-page code of federal regulations on criminal law, and many of these are laws that criminalize things that no reasonable person would know are illegal. I mean, for example, did you know it's a crime punishable by up to 6 months in prison to use the 4-H Club logo without authorization? I'm sure a lot of people have done that, thinking that they didn't do anything wrong. Or you can't walk a dog in a federal park area on a leash that's longer than 6 feet. I mean, my gosh. Criminal justice reform is a very, very important topic that shouldn't be rushed. And I find it difficult to support a bill that doesn't address the basic issue. People should not be locked up for crimes they don't know are wrong.
Boy, I'm going to go home and measure my leash for Dagmar. I'm worried now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
well,
right.
I'm proposing this criminal intent requirement to ensure that criminals aren't charged for laws any reasonable person wouldn't know exists, or regular citizens aren't charged for laws any reasonable person would not know exists. So I'm very concerned about it. I'm concerned about unleashing thousands of criminals onto the public. I do have some empathy for some of these folks who weren't violent but did get caught up in using drugs and so forth. There are some injustices there, and I would work very hard to try and solve those. But what they're doing with this bill, even though it's bipartisan, is ignoring one of the principal basic things in the law, mens rea, or the obligation to prove criminal intent, in order to put through a bill that basically will free an awful lot of people, some of whom are very, very definitely people you would not want on the streets.
Senator, I so appreciate you joining us. I hope I haven't made you late for your meeting.
Yeah, I'd always try to be with you if I can.